Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Dude You Never Told Me. My name's Anthony. I'm one of your co-hosts this evening, and with me, as always, are my two best friends. What's up, guys?
What's going on, everyone? It's Alex.
What's up, everybody? It's Devante.
How's everyone doing tonight? Hope y'all doing well. Hope y'all ready for our second ever episode. I'm excited because we're talking about a very favorite topic of mine. But before we do, let's just in case you missed our first episode, the three of us, we're childhood friends who are now committed to meeting once a week to share untold stories, express our thoughts, and try to make each other laugh or even cry. I still am trying to make my friends cry. How about
Wait,
you,
you're
Alex?
trying to make us cry?
Yeah, I wanted to share that nice tear. Um, but this time we have the pleasure of talking with our listeners, our watchers, and our chatters. So you guys get to join us on this wonderful journey.
We'll be
We're about to
interacting with you guys.
Yes, because I definitely want to hear your thoughts because this week our theme is going to be something that is very special to my heart. We're going to be talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But just a heads up, we're going to be spoiling, we're going to be speculating. So you haven't seen the Marvel movies yet, you haven't seen the Marvel TV shows yet. I suggest you binge everything now. Let's get started. So I guess I kind of want to start with a very generic question, very easy question for y'all. Are y'all fans of the first three phases of the MCU? So that this would
Love
be
them.
everything up until Avengers Endgame.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I love them. They're the best of the whole series right now.
If it wasn't
Which
for
one's
that
your
first one, I don't think I would be in like watching Marvel. If it wasn't for the first phase,
that's like what Iron Man, that's Hulk,
bro. Iron Man,
Thor.
the first Iron Man movie is what hooked me. Like that scene where they're in the Middle East and then Robbie Donner Jr. is like walking out with the bombs going off in the background. It was probably like in a commercial, but that was that was it. That was the scene that I was like, whoa, I gotta watch this.
Yeah, I remember watching the trailers where you have like Iron Man, like he shoots the missile to the tank and blows it up, and you have like review say best film of 2008. This is like the phenomenal like superhero film.
I think I remember that was one of the first movies I ever went and saw like at theaters at least twice. And then my brother Chris, he went and he bought the video game and he was playing it on his DS and just Iron Man became so popular when it first came out.
Well, yeah, it was like the one of the first of its kind. But Devante, is Iron Man your favorite film of the first three phases?
I would say yeah. That was probably the only one. I mean, mind you, that back in the day, I used to watch it bootleg, and so I watched Marvel like that Iron Man movie bootleg, and then I went to go watch it in
With the
theaters.
Chinese subtitles and everything.
Yeah, because I thought it was so good. I was like, oh man, I don't want to watch this in movies. And then I saw it on TV, and I was like, okay, I need to go. I need to go watch this in movies.
Did y'all ever watch the there's like an animated Iron Man film. It's called The Invincible Iron Man. It came
Oh
out like
yeah.
basically the exact same year as the Iron Man movie. And so
Oh.
while I was in like Walmart, I saw the animated movie. I thought that was the Iron Man movie, like the one with Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, the animated one.
Yeah, so I
There's a
bought
very
it.
large
I
difference.
put it in. I'm like, this is. I was like, oh, this isn't Robert Downey Jr., but maybe maybe he's like the voice actor for the movie.
What was your favorite movie of the first phase?
First phase? Oh man.
Yeah, phase one, if you will.
Remind me where first phase begins and ends. Is it
I
Captain
got you.
America?
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Iron Man 1,
Okay.
followed by The Incredible Hulk with,
Okay.
what was his name? Edward Norton.
Or Norton. Good film.
And then Iron Man 2,
Okay.
followed
I have
by Thor, Captain America, and then you got Avengers 1.
okay. I think for sure Captain America First Avenger.
You're so
Okay.
patriotic.
Something really cool and really like hero's journey about Captain America 1.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would agree. That one was actually my favorite too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the Iron Man movie. I thought it was great. And it definitely is the reason why the MCU took off. But when Captain America came out, that was my boy for the MCU in the early stages.
Yeah, it's really good. But I think my favorite, like phase 1 through 3 Marvel film is probably Thor Ragnarok.
Ooh,
Mm.
No, no,
Ragnarok.
yes, Ragnarok. That's the third one, right?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
third one.
third one.
My favorite
That's
was the Thor where he went to pick up Hulk. I don't know which one that one
yeah,
is.
that's
That's
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok.
That's
Okay,
Ragnarok. Yeah.
What a phenomenal film in so many levels. It's a fun film.
that was probably the best one for me. Okay, my favorite is Thor. That's my favorite like MCU character.
Okay, but which Thor? Because there's two versions they did of
It's
Thor.
the Ragnarok Thor.
A Ragnarok Thor. So you're a favorite. You like the more funny,
My wife
stupid.
says his
Doesn't
crush. It
really
is
know
my
what he's
crush.
doing.
Did you
Yeah,
know? I mean, to be fair, the first Thor film was directed by a kind of like a Shakespearean actor. It was like a Shakespeare epic, right? Like the first Thor film.
Yeah.
dude, I got a crush on my on Thor real quick. You know, whenever he went from long hair to like short hair in that movie, when they gave him that haircut, oh man, that was it. I was like, all right, that's my guy right there. That's my MCU crush. You know,
What about his
Um,
slide? He went from fit Thor to fat Thor.
that's all right. That's dad bod mode.
What a realistic superhero, you know. After he killed Thanos and the beginning of Endgame, he just slid.
dude was just drinking beers and playing Fortnite.
I take it y'all are pretty big fans of the first MCU. So my question to y'all, and this will kind of build up into our main topic. But what are y'all thoughts about the current MCU? So this is like but phase 4, 5. Oh, I guess 4. Are
Shoot.
we phase 5 yet?
We are phase five. Phase five officially started after Wakanda Forever.
Black
Yeah.
Panther 2.
Yeah, Black Panther 2. That was the last one in phase four.
So what are your thoughts on? Have y'all seen the TV shows?
I've seen
Seen
everything.
Loki.
Everything except for Werewolf at Night or whatever
Werewolf
it's called.
by
That's the
Night.
only one I didn't watch.
That's a fun one.
I haven't
that.
watched majority of them, but I really enjoyed Loki season 1 and season 2.
Loki was really good. I think my favorite of the Disney Plus shows has got to be the very first one that came out to kick off the entire phase four, WandaVision.
Man, I heard some mixed reviews on that one.
If you love to watch like TV in general and you're a big fan of like all these different old school like comedy shows, you were in for a good time. It was a great combination of like just old school comedy TV plus modern with a mix of MCU and mystery and drama. Just it was just great.
Hmm.
Yeah, it felt like a love letter to like old retro like sitcoms and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A lot of Easter eggs, a lot of references. I like WandaVision. It was solid. I think the ending felt kind of rushed. I feel like Marvel has a really bad job of like wrapping up endings.
That'd be what I call the Disney Plus curse.
Hey, they did a great job with Endgame.
I mean, I feel like that's
Well,
a lot
that wasn't rushed.
That was a
I
two-part
feel like
series.
a lot of TV shows suffer from like you know you have a good premise, you have a good build up, but like the ending, you know, it feels rushed. You're trying to tie up all loose ends,
Mm.
so like you'll just do anything to make it work.
Yeah, WandaVision suffered that. Moon Knight suffered that.
Oh man, I
The
heard some
Winter.
bad things about Moon Knight.
I actually really enjoyed Moon
You
Knight,
liked it? Okay.
but the ending was so rushed that it really hurt. It hurt the series for me. It left me wanting more. So like I guess it kind of did its job,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I just felt like for example, this is a little spoilerish, but the final fight is literally like 1 second he's fighting the bad guy, the next he blacks out, and you don't even see the fight. That's the
Oh.
whole fight.
Yeah, that's kind of like a running like premise is that he has. So, do you know about Moon Knight, Devante?
No, I don't know about Moon Knight.
So, Moon Knight
Fill me
was
in.
he has like split personalities.
Okay.
So that's like part of his thing is that he has split personalities. And so one of his personalities is like a very violent one. And
Very
they never really explore in the TV show. They kind of hinted at it. So the ending is kind of alluding to that hint is that, you know, for the longest time we see him dealing with two different personalities. But
Mm.
there's a third one hidden in there somewhere, which is a nod to his actual like comic book and actual series.
Okay.
You know, Moon Knight has been, I think he's like I love how he's getting a lot of attention now because back then he didn't get too much attention.
Mhm.
I had an action figure of Moon Knight because I used to collect all the Marvel superhero action figures that come with a comic book.
Oh,
So one of it was Moon Knight. He's a
It
really
also
cool.
helps. Moon Knight's supposed to be kind of like the Marvel equivalent to Batman in a way.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people kind of
really?
fell into that.
I thought that was
So
Iron
his
Man.
3 main personalities is, like, one of them is, like, your rich billionaire turned mercenary, has all these, gadgets and whatnot. His
Mhm.
other personality is just like a kind of like a more intellectual mastermind kind of plotter type, and then his third personality is like a rugged, on the streets level, like, person.
Okay.
So all
Did
those,
and you get to see
kind of
all three personalities throughout the show, or is it the only two?
the show focuses on the mercenary one, Mark Spector, and it focuses on the mastermind one, but he's the one that kinda wears a suit. And one of the really
Is
cool
that
things
the
about
violent one?
no, that's the one that's, like, more timid, like, the one you first see. What's the name of his character? Mark is the normal one, or the mercenary
All
one.
right, you've got Stephen Grant,
Yeah,
Jake
Steve Grant.
Lockley.
Steve Grant is the,
Oh,
mastermind
Mhm.
one, and then Mark Spector is the mercenary. What's really cool is that when you actually, like, read into the Moon Knight, the comic book series,
Mhm.
there's a question whether, like, does Moon Knight actually have powers, or is he, like or is it just, like, one of his personalities stepping in and pretending that he has powers?
Oh.
Yeah, so it's like, you
So
don't really know who it is. They eventually clear it up that he does have powers, but, like, one of the story arc is that, like, he's having a crisis identity crisis where, like, which one is the real him? Is even Mark Spector the real, person underneath?
mhm. Oh. So, like, aside from Moon Knight, so is on a I hate to bring up a tier list, but on a tier list, where is Moon Knight? Like, Moon Knight, like, on a S tier to D tier, you know?
S tier, D tier? Are we just doing the Marvel, uh, TV shows, or are we doing, like, all
Yeah,
TV
yeah.
shows of all
Let's just
time?
do within the Marvel TV shows.
Alright. I can rank them. I have a pretty solid ranking in my head.
All right.
I think Loki's the best Marvel TV show.
Okay, I
Has the most,
agree.
love and thought put into it, and that's pretty solid writing. So what's next? I think at the very bottom, I'll have to say I wanna say She-Hulk is at the bottom for me.
Dang, I haven't
I
watched that one.
cannot I could not get into She-Hulk. I
She-Hulk. The
understand why
only
people.
thing about She-Hulk I was excited for was Daredevil. That was the best part of the whole thing for me.
Oh, right. So
Mm.
Pivo just mentioned, Secret Invasion. Yeah, Secret Invasion is pretty rough. It's a pretty tough
Ooh,
watch. I
that
can
one might actually be my lowest.
Lois.
Oh, okay.
I think because that one has a
Yeah.
lot of hype around it. So I think Moon Knight sits kind of in the middle pack. It's
Oh,
definitely
so it did pretty
better.
good.
It's definitely better than, uh, Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
Mhm.
and I think it's not as good as Miss Marvel. It's not good as Loki.
Miss Marvel actually they did pretty good. It wasn't too rushed, but it wasn't it also was very very high school, you know?
Yeah,
Like very
John Hughes animated.
modern high school.
Wait, y'all
Very
haven't talked about Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
that
That
one
was a
had so
very
much
interesting one.
promise, but I'm gonna go into my soap opera before we jump into, like, into the MCU and our topic. I have a soapbox for, Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Okay.
I love the concept. I love how they're like, "Oh, can a black man really be Captain America?" 'Cause
Mhm.
they do explore that in the comic book.
Right.
Like Sam Wilson
Yeah.
does take over as Captain America for a while. The part that kind of irked me was, he comes this is the very last episode, so heavy spoilers.
Mhm.
He comes in his comic book accurate costume. He's, like, doing his thing, and then the very scene where, like, I think, like, the policeman is trying to shoot someone, he comes in, starts, like, preaching about, like equal rights and, like, being, like, the perception of, like, Captain America,
Mhm.
and, like, I get it, like,
Yeah.
that's when you boil it down, that's what the show's kinda talking about,
Mhm.
but the way they handle it is so heavy-handed. It's so preachy, and then after his big speech, it's just a kumbaya. They're like, "Yeah, you know what, Captain America? You're right. A black man can be Captain America." And everyone's happy like that. Like, they walk up to the line of, like, "Let's have this tough conversation. Let's have a conversation about what's like how to be black in America,
Mhm.
and then they just jump the hurdle. They're like, okay, cool. Now that we've alluded to the talk, we're done. We're done talking, and they just like go on as normal.
Do you think they'll address it whenever the fourth Captain America movie comes out, or do you
No,
think the conversation? No, you think it's done?
I think it's kind of done because I think it's one of the things where Disney knows that people don't want to be preached to, especially watching like a full length like blockbuster film. You don't
Yeah.
want to be like preached at.
I mean, Disney does like to preach a lot, so we'll see. I'm
I mean,
curious.
I think I'm gonna push back on that because like I don't think they like to talk that they preach a lot, but they do the exact same thing where they walk up to that tough conversation, but then they avoid it. They don't actually do the conversation. They just reference it. They throw in a few arguments here and there, but they actually never have that tough conversation that you're looking for.
People
I see
said
what you're saying.
the fourth Captain America is being currently rewritten. You guys know about that?
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Oh.
They've had to work on that one for a hot minute.
To be fair, Marvel films go through a lot of rewrites. So.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, so that's just the nature.
I mean, that was actually one of the bigger rewrites that we've seen was Black Panther.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh,
that was
what a tragedy.
Yeah, rest in peace for sure.
Yeah, rest in peace to that man.
But yeah, I feel like how do you guys think that Black Panther would have came out if he were still living?
You know, I've seen articles about it, and they talked about how it was going to basically be him dealing with the trauma of being gone and not being there for his country and his kingdom while he was, snapped, and just kind of dealing with that aftermath, and then also on top of that having to now face off against this other country that also was hiding, kind of like him, and it basically they basically reworked that script and made it more about Shuri dealing with obviously her brother passing. So in a way, it was similar. They didn't have to change too much, but obviously had to change a lot at the same time.
Yeah, I think that'd be a cool film to kind of see him deal with like the aftermath of the snap. I thought that was the prevailing theme of Phase 4 of Marvel. Was like, how do we now that we create like the snap? How do we deal with it? It's like a lot of like TV shows and movies are about like, oh, what happened in that 5 years that you're gone?
Yeah, that's a good question, Chief Keef 96. Anthony, do you happen to know any of the Disney Plus shows that are coming up next for Marvel? The only one I
Yeah,
know of is
so
like
there's
the animated
Daredevil.
ones.
Daredevil's coming out.
That's right, Daredevil.
There's the Spider-Man multiverse storyline.
Oh,
Wait, Spider-Man, isn't that just an animated one? Like,
Yeah,
isn't
but
it?
it's like a multiverse. So originally, everyone thought it was going to be about like the origin of like Tom Holland, Peter Parker, but then they announced that it's going to have like Harry Osborn, Norman Osborn. It's going to have Doctor Strange. It's going to have Daredevil, and so now it's just a multiverse story.
I really like Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange is
Really
really
good movie.
fun.
My wife did not like Doctor Strange.
Oh, really? What did she not like about it?
It's kind of like a borderline cultural appropriation with the ancient one. Like I love Tilda Swinton, but like I think that was an interesting choice to have her be like a spiritual leader type of character. But I mean, I know my wife she had a problem with it, but I don't think I had a problem with it because like Khmer Rouge is like not supposed to be like a nation bound like country.
Yeah.
It's like a metaphysical, a mystical area. So it didn't bother me. I think I think they underutilized Tilda Swinton. I think she has a lot more range than they would use her for. But I didn't mind it. I actually thoroughly enjoyed Doctor Strange. I like how
Hey,
they
Tango Ops, I got some news for you, dog. They actually were just posting some photos the other day of Daredevil with Karen and Foggy, and that boy John Berthel was there too.
Yeah, did y'all watch like the Netflix Marvel TV shows?
I loved Daredevil.
I've only
on
seen
Netflix.
bits and pieces of it.
Have you at least seen Daredevil? If you've seen that one,
I've seen clips, but I haven't watched like any show, like sat down and watched any of the shows on Netflix.
Daredevil was really good. I like Jessica Jones. And then I actually thoroughly enjoyed Luke Cage. Luke Cage was a pretty solid.
Jessica, Luke, and Daredevil and Punisher, all great. then there's Iron Fist, who's kind of
To be fair, so Iron Fist by himself, that's an already problematic character, but the TV show did him zero justice. I think
yeah.
at the end of the day, we all just wanted him to be in this costume, which I hope we get.
I heard about
I,
that too from other
I
friends.
hope we get classic Iron Fist costume.
Mm.
Right.
I think the blowback got so bad of like Iron Fist that they even changed him in the comic books. They took it
Really?
the Iron Fist powers away from Danny Rand and gave it to Swordmaster, who's like a traditionally like Asian like character.
Oh, okay.
That's so bad. That's how bad it got.
You know what Asian MCU character I'm really excited to see return
Which one?
is Shang-Chi.
Yeah, I like the Shang-Chi film.
You know, I really
I
like
thought that movie was so good when it came out.
It was funny.
It's a nice ode to, like,
That might be my favorite MCU movie for Phase 4, actually.
I mean, okay, so who are the competitors? It's Shang-Chi. Would you say Spider-Man No Way Home is Phase 4, or you say
No,
that's
it concludes Phase 3. That's the end of Phase 3 of Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah, I like Shang-Chi. It's a nice ode to like martial arts film.
Yeah.
I love that.
It was good Asian representation.
Yeah, solid. Yes, I like how the direction they're going. The Eternals, that was a rough one.
Oh man, there's
Oh, man.
so much can be said about that show or that movie. I actually went to go watch that one in theaters, and
Yeah.
it was a big letdown. Even for me, who's not like I'm not a Marvel fan, like that big of a Marvel fan, but I was just kind of like, okay,
Oh,
you got
man.
all these like great stars, you know, actresses and actors, but it just didn't hit the same way.
Yeah. They were trying to recreate like Guardians, but just it was not
What? Guardians is funny though.
exactly. This was like a serious Guardians, but just
Yeah, it did feel a little bit serious, but unserious
No,
in the
but-
ways that they're going about things. But yeah,
I gotta address this comment that came up real quick. How do we feel about the upcoming Deadpool Wolverine X-Men movie?
I'm into Deadpool personally. Wolverine, I actually didn't know was in Marvel, and so that was like news to me.
Well, I can clear that up for you real quick, Devante.
Yeah.
So originally that you had Fox, right? And Fox owned Fantastic Four, the X-Men. I believe they own Daredevil as well. And I'm probably forgetting someone. Anyhow, you've got those Fox shows, right? And essentially 20th Century Fox, they sold all of the like their whole studio to Disney basically. And they just kept like the news source and what have you.
Okay.
And when they bought them, basically Disney said, "Okay, all this is now MCU, just in the multiverse."
Okay.
So like they're in it, but not really in it, except Deadpool's gonna actually bring them together. Like you've seen Loki, right?
Oh yeah.
So you remember the like the time people, I forget their name, the TVA.
TVA, yeah.
So the TVA is going to basically recruit Deadpool for some unknown reason, and basically that's how it starts. That's the premise, and Deadpool's gonna do some crazy stuff. Along the way, he's gonna run into Wolverine, and Wolverine's gonna kick his ass.
Okay. I'm down to go watch the movie with whenever it comes out. When does it come out?
July 26th this year. I already know it. I got that on my calendar, dude. That is the.
All right, buy me a ticket for me, dude. I'll be right next
I will
to you.
buy you a ticket. I will buy you a ticket, man. I am so ready for that movie. For those who don't know, Wolverine is my diehard #1 favorite hero of all time. Like I love that character.
Did you watch? You watched Logan, right? Then
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I cried like a baby.
did you read
I
the
cried
comic
like a
book
baby.
that inspired Logan?
Old Man Logan.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. I did not like read the comic per se, but I have read like a synopsis of how it goes. Basically, he goes like on a road trip across the states. It's kind of like an apocalyptic world. I think he goes with, is it Hawkeye?
Yeah, it's Hawkeye.
Yeah, it's Hawkeye.
Right,
And
but do you know the synopsis of Old Man Logan, the comic book?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay. Old Man Logan, the
watched
comic book
Logan,
is-
but I haven't read the comic.
Old Man Logan, the comic book, is probably one of my favorite comic book stories
Okay.
of all time. So you're following like a Logan who's basically given up being Wolverine.
Mhm.
And we don't know why. It's like alluded to for the entire series. The entire comic book you're alluded to. Oh, why did Logan stop being Wolverine? He has a family. He's living that farmer life. He's like just doing his own thing. And then eventually the Hulk has like a basically Hulk inbreeds with a She-Hulk, and they have like hillbilly children, and they have like it's like they're like inbred mutants
Okay.
essentially.
Oh
They
yeah,
basically
there's kind of like
rule.
kingdoms of the whole United States, right, Anthony?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so what happened, it's alluded to, what happened is that somewhere along the way, all the villains decide to work together to kill the superheroes. And so they did.
Okay.
Every villain just worked together and killed them. And then they divvy up the entire United States into like different sections. And so the Hulk, they ruled like they ruled the West Coast. And it's like an arid, desert essentially.
Okay.
Did Magneto own one of the
Yeah,
corners?
Magneto used to own one.
Mm,
And in the story, he is dethroned and killed. We don't see
okay.
it, but it's alluded that he was dethroned.
Hmm.
But so essentially, yeah. So he needs to pay back the Hulk gang, protection money, classic mafia stuff. And so he goes on a cross country journey with a blind Hawkeye.
Why
To
is Hawkeye blind?
He's old because he
Oh,
got
he's just old. Okay.
glaucoma. Yeah,
He's
All right.
old, and all the villains kind of went after everybody.
I see.
And so it's funny because like Hawkeye has a really heart to heart movement with Logan, where like when the bad guys came to kill the Avengers, they're like, oh, Hawkeye's just a normal human with a bow and arrow. No one cared about him,
Mhm.
so they didn't kill him because they think, oh, he's useless.
Jeez.
And so you have to go cross country, and then what you find out is the reason why Logan's quit being Wolverine is because Mysterio, like the villain from
Oh, now I remember what happens. Okay. Yep.
Mysterio basically creates an illusion in Wolverine's head that the villains attack the X Mansion. And so
Okay.
Logan kills all the villains. And it turns out the illusion is his friends. He killed his friends. All of
Oh.
them. And so
Yeah.
after that, he gave up being Wolverine and decided to live that simple, like, farmer life.
And the parallel to the movie Logan. So in Logan, Wolverine wasn't the one who killed the X-Men. It was actually Professor Xavier. As he was getting old in his age, he was kind of developing dementia, and so he would have like these spikes with his powers, and he ultimately like basically blew up their heads.
Yeah, it's implied that he had a
So
seizure. And when he has a seizure, what happens to the most powerful mind in the world that can connect to other minds if it has a seizure?
It blows up other heads. That's crazy.
That's the Logan version of it.
Mm.
But yeah, that's Old Man Logan is what inspired Logan,
Mhm.
and it's like, what a phenomenal. I highly recommend you read that comic book.
Okay.
It's pretty cool to see this like post-apocalyptic world and see where all the heroes are. So when they killed Thor, his hammer fell into Las Vegas, and no one could pick it up because no one's worthy enough. So Las Vegas gets renamed a Hammerfall. It's where the hammer fell. So for Ant-Man, so how Ant-Man's also Giant Man? He
Mhm.
can grow and shrink.
Right.
So when they killed Ant-Man, he fell in like I think Chicago area, and so they call that area I think they call it like a giant's carcass
Mhm.
because it's just a gigantic skeleton because he grew and they killed him.
I see. So it's,
So
he was left like big.
yeah, he was that
Yeah.
big,
Oh
and
wow.
so it's very fun to see the world that they create. And then it was all orchestrated by the Red Skull. Red Skull was the mastermind behind all of it.
Of
And
course
it's
he
fun
was.
to see the Red Skull. Like after he killed Captain America, he had nothing. So he basically wears Captain America's costume
Mhm.
as like a way to like, I guess like to mourn his death of like his arch nemesis.
that's, that's a weird way to do it, but
It's like it's fun. It's because like you see at the very end, the Red Skull has like a trophy of all of his like Avengers that he killed.
yeah.
So he's like in Captain America's costume. He's trying to use Iron Man's like armor to like kill Logan. And, this is the point where Wolverine he's now snapped. He's now committed to like doing his job, getting paid, coming home.
Hmm.
And I think so this is spoilers for the comic book, but he does come home, his family's dead. Classic Western story.
Wasn't he supposed to be like helping transport a child? And wasn't that child like Spider-Man's child or something?
No, he runs into Spider-Man's child, but no, his job was to deliver what is a super soldier serum from the
Mm.
West Coast to the East Coast. So because like
Mm.
Luke Cage and a lot of the more street level heroes, they're trying to rebuild like a rebellion against Red Skull.
Dang,
But it's
Spider-Man
all
having a kid.
yeah, it's like a Spider-Man has a kid with Hawkeye's granddaughter.
Okay.
And then she dons like the Spider-Man. She has no power. She dons a Spider-Man costume and tries to be a hero. And then she gets kidnapped by some no-name guy who basically killed the Kingpin to take over Kingpin's lair. And he feeds people to like his T-Rex or his raptor. It's like one of those. It's like a raptor or a T-Rex.
Just casually having a raptor or T-Rex as a pet.
So
I think that question's
Pivo
for you, Anthony.
says, I forget,
Yeah,
is
Pivo.
Spider-Man Reign in the same Old Man Logan universe? I have not read Spider-Man Reign. That's not the one with Old Man Miles Morales, is it?
I'm not sure, but
They made a lot
it's
of
a pass.
like Old Man X stories, like Old Man Miles, Old Man Hawkeye. So I don't know if it's in the same universe.
So, Anthony, who is your favorite Marvel superhero of all time?
All time. Ooh.
Yeah, the one that you're just like, I have to see him. Like, I hear his name and I get excited. If they made a video game about it, you would buy it in a second.
It's probably Spider. Is there a Spider-Man or Iron Man? And like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, that would have been a cool answer because you're like, who the hell is Iron Man? He's everywhere. So it's no longer a cool answer.
Right. Hey,
But like I
Spider-Man's still
remember
relative.
I bought like one of my first Marvel action figures was the Thor Buster Iron Man costume. Well, the Thor Buster Iron Man suit was really cool. And that storyline basically he creates a armor to beat Thor. Because this is back then when
Oh.
Iron Man armors to beat everyone. He had Hulk Buster, he had Thor Buster, he had all these cool armors.
So what was that armor made out of to beat Thor?
So it's like it takes place. I don't know timeline where it takes place, but the idea is that what like during when the Avengers storyline after they save Asgard, Thor gifts Tony Stark like Asgardian medal.
Ah, okay, that makes
And it's
sense.
like a gift, just a gift. And then the storyline is that Thor he starts to kind of like act more aggressively, like as a god. Like he tried to lean towards God. He had his own cult that like people followed him,
Hmm.
and so he was trying to like lay down his like his thunder god law. And so Iron Man was like, no, that can't like that doesn't work. That doesn't work in America. That doesn't work anywhere. You can't just be above the law. And so he dons his Thor Buster Iron Man costume and they fight each other.
I see.
And
Did
so
they ever have a storyline in the comics where they had Fat Thor, or is that literally just MCU?
they had a storyline where Thor becomes unworthy, but I don't think he never really becomes fat.
That's
Yeah,
his
he's always
unworthy.
been a more serious character until MCU decided to let Taika Waititi take a jab at him.
Yeah, but then he got two fun games. We got Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
I remember.
Too fun.
That
Yeah.
one was a little bit too
It was almost
lackadaisical. Thor.
When I talk about that they made Thor stupid, that's what I'm talking about. Thor Love and Thunder right there.
Yeah, a little bit too fun. But it was really cool to see Jane Austen as Thor, though. She does become Thor in the comic.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
It was great seeing Natalie Portman. Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful
What a
person.
celebrity crush over there.
Oh yeah. I've thought that girl was beautiful since I saw Attack of the Clones, man.
That's a while back.
But that's a whole other genre of movie, so I'll stay away from that for now. We'll say that for another day.
All right. So, what are your thoughts on like the current stuff? Do you like it? Do you think they're like slipping? There's a recurring theme that like Marvel is slipping right now.
So
I
remind
would
me of some of the
say-
current stuff. Some of the current stuff being like
Let's think like the Marvels. Let's think of Doctor Strange. To
like the newer Doctor Strange.
yeah, let's
Yeah.
think about the Ant-Man, the new Ant-Man.
The new Ant-Man,
Mhm.
the new Captain Marvel, the new Black Panther, the new Thor,
Guardians 3.
Guardians 3. Who else are we missing?
We'll throw in Shang-Chi,
Shang-Chi.
Eternal, and Black Panther too.
There you go.
So what are your thoughts on those films? And where do you think and then if you so my kind of feel is that it's not as good as the first three phases. And I have a theory on why I don't think it's as good as the phases, but I kind of want to hear what y'all's thoughts are.
Yeah, before you go into theory, I'll do it from a comic book reading MCU guy, but um for me, I'd say ever since Endgame, like it's just I just don't have a want to watch as much as I used to. You know, whenever the movies pop out, you're just like, okay, I gotta go watch it. But recently, ever since Endgame ended and Thanos snapped everybody and came back, it was just like, all right, well, what's next? And then what's next was not as eventful as the ones that like remembering back from phase one or phase two. And so
I think,
for me, I just think that like Marvel is not as hype as it used to be in my case.
yeah, like they peaked for you basically.
Yeah, at Endgame, like that was I was okay with just ending there, like for that.
So,
Yeah.
do you think they're like you're not as invested in the new superheroes? Do you think the stakes are not as high as like Thanos and the Infinity Stones?
Yeah, it's also because I watched Loki, and Loki made it seem like that whole event was a joke. They were just like, oh, we have a billion, Infinity Stones just laying around everywhere. There are paperweights, pretty much. That's what they said in the show, and it was just kind of funny to hear that and be like, wow, we just got through watching that whole, cinematic sequence, and then here in Loki, they're just making fun of it.
I think that was their way of trying to be like, please keep watching and be ready for the next big thing or something
I think
like
it's also
that.
like a scale type situation. Well, I mean, what they're building towards now technically is bigger than the Infinity Stones.
Hmm.
But I get what you mean. Yeah, some of the heroes nowadays are not as there's no Captain America, there's no Iron Man. It's not as
There is a Captain America.
okay. You haven't seen his film yet, so but it's not the
Okay,
same. Right? It's not the same. Like I'm saying,
that's
like
fair.
you don't
That's
have
fair.
the
His
same
TV show was called Falcon and Winter Soldier, so I'll
right,
give
but
you
like you
that.
don't have the charisma of like Chris Evans as Captain America. You don't have like charisma as Johnny Depp as not Johnny Depp as Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. Like, there's
Yeah.
like a criticism that when Iron Man first came out, it was fun seeing like a wise, smart Alec, like cracking jokes here and there and like, these one-liners. That was
Right.
his thing. That was Tony Stark's thing and really cool.
Right.
But then everyone started doing it. Everyone's doing one-liners. Everyone's trying to be smart Alec. Everyone's trying to be like witty and whatnot. And so that kind of made Iron Man lose what made him like a fun hero to watch.
Yeah.
Mhm. They milked them too much.
I can see what you're saying. I feel like in terms of movies that were good, there was obviously Shang-Chi. I thought Guardians 3 was pretty good. So other than those two movies, I'd say we start getting more to mediocre territory, and that's probably going to be like your Doctor Strange, your Wakanda Forever, and then what else? I feel like I'm missing one.
Ant-Man.
That one almost is just bad.
That one's Ant-Man's
Jeez.
garbage.
Yeah. Ant-Man, the Marvels, Eternals, all of them were just kind of eh. I mean, like they all had their good moments, but like the films as a whole, like let's take the Marvels for example. Like that last fight was so fast and so quick and just like they dealt with the consequence in seconds. It felt so rushed. I mean, I feel like I was watching a Disney Plus show again with how rushed the conclusion was.
Mm.
It was like an hour 30 compared to the normal like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it was a super short movie.
I have another question though. Do you
Yeah,
think
what's up?
before Anthony gets into his theory, do you think that if Stanley was still alive, that it would have went a totally different direction, or do you think that it would still be along the lines of what we're seeing now?
Still along the lines of what we're seeing now.
I agree. Same lines. I don't
It's
think
just Staley didn't
Stanley would
really
change
have a
anything.
lot of like creative input on what Kevin Feige did for the MCU.
Mm.
He's just there. I think I mean,
His
even at age,
cameos.
step back
Yeah,
from like leading Marvel as a whole. Like I don't think he did any like impactful like storylines in Marvel, even like leading up to his passing.
agreed.
Let's
Yeah,
see.
no, Stan Lee was just there simply for the cameos and for the fun of that. And
So what's your
is what
theory,
it is.
Anthony? What's this theory that you got?
So I feel like the current age of Marvel doesn't have so each when you think about phase 1, 2, and 3 of Marvel, each phase had a payout. Like something that ended the phase that felt really nice. Like, oh, this is what I'm watching towards.
Right. Like they all built up towards like Avengers 1, 2.
Avengers was the payout. So Avengers 1 was
Mm.
payout. Phase 1, phase 2, I think it was Avengers 2 payout. But like phase 3 was Infinity Wars Endgame. Those are the payouts.
Okay.
There was no payout for phase 4 of Marvel. There is no payout for phase 5 of Marvel.
Oh, like a big ending movie sequence. Is that what you're
Right.
saying?
I think it's that. I think it's also um, the Marvel's movies have been getting criticized of like locking actors into super long contracts. So they
Mm.
structure the contracts to being more free. You have more standalone films. But if you have these more standalone films and you one-off contracts, you can't really build that like connected universe together. That's why we see way less cameos nowadays.
Mm.
And then two, I think right now the creators of the Marvel movies have a little bit too much freedom. And it's my complaint with like the Star Wars stuff as well, where they have a bit too much freedom. Which is
Right.
fine,
What are some
they're
what are some
pushing the
examples
boundaries,
of that freedom that you're expressing?
right? Like I think it's really cool that they're pushing the boundaries. So let's think about like the Shang-Chi is essentially a Marvel film wrapping around a martial arts film, which is pretty cool.
Mhm.
I enjoyed it. The Eternals was a Marvel cover over of like an epic. Not as good. Characters were pretty bad. You span like millennia and they had the same characteristics, which was pretty rough. Even look at the TV shows. So like She-Hulk is a Marvel a cover over of a sitcom. Um, there's a lot. It's just like they're cool ways to approach like Marvel to different storylines.
Mhm.
It's fun to throw in like the Marvel element. Oh yeah, like Love and Thunder. Love and Thunder is a rom com with Marvel characters,
All right, you got
which
me
is
there. Yeah, you're right.
it's
True.
cool.
That's true.
It's fine, but it's all right. It's not as good. There's no cohesive storyline. It feels they're just having a bit more too much freedom.
It
I
just
love their
it just looks like they're
boundaries.
living life and then like solving problems as they live life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's they're pushing the boundaries of what of like film, and it's cool to see them giving like classic movie genres or classic TV genres the Marvel taste. But I feel like they've sacrificed having a cohesive story.
Mm.
It very much shows because like right now the pay and then it sucks like because we're used to having a payout, you
Mhm.
have to throw in these like stingers at the end of the movie that like if people say, oh, we are working towards something big, like the Eternals, oh, we are working towards like something some cosmic war happening.
Right.
Oh, for the Marvels, oh, we're working towards like a multiverse like X-Men crossover kind of energy.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah, because that's what they did at the end of the
Right.
Marvels.
So we're conditioned to want like a cohesion of the Marvel films. Right now, there is no cohesion.
Mm.
The payout is at phase 6 when you have like the first Avengers film. Like that's the payout. That's what everyone's waiting for.
Yeah, the Kang Dynasty, which we don't even know if it's going to remain that way
Yes,
because of the whole Jonathan Majors scandal. And then
exactly.
afterwards, it's going to lead into Secret Wars.
Which is a phenomenal storyline in the comic books. It's really cool, and that's what they're building towards. They're building towards Secret Wars. They're building towards all that multiverse battle that like alluded to in
Yeah.
Loki.
Wait,
Loki seeded the ground for multiverse.
can I ask, do I need to watch all these movies in order
Yes,
to
yes,
understand?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
I guess we'll go back
Okay.
and watch them.
That's
Okay.
the worst part
Hold
too.
on. Hold on. No, you don't. No, you
Yeah.
don't.
I guarantee you that. So I guarantee you that you're gonna need to watch a lot of these to like to feel included. And my prime example is WandaVision leading into Doctor Strange to Miss Marvel leading to the Marvels,
Okay.
and then you're gonna have honestly like I wouldn't be surprised at the end of X-Men '97 they're gonna lead into like the crossover of like the Marvel X-Men universe. I truly think '97 is a gateway into introducing X-Men into the multiverse.
I don't know if I fully agree with X-Men 97. I think we might see a little like esque version of it, but I don't think it'll fully be integrated just because with the whole Deadpool Wolverine crossover that they're doing, I think they're going to probably aim to bring more 20th Century Fox X-Men characters, if I had to guess.
I think there'll be cameos, but they won't be like a full on thing. Just like how was it which film had like all the cameos that? Well, I think Days of Future Past. That one kind of alluded into like. Sorry, was it Old Man Logan? No, Days of Future Past, right? That's the one that
Days
had
of Futures Past, yeah, where he was literally going back and forth between the new X-Men cast and the old X-Men cast.
and then it rewrote like the X-Men X1, 2, and 3.
Yeah,
Changed
yeah,
the future and stuff like that.
yeah. So that way they could use all those new actors, including who was it? Sophie Turner, I think, was the biggest name that I remember seeing for that list, and Patrick McAvoy, of course.
So what do you think, Alex? I have to watch all of them or nah?
Man, okay. So if you want to understand, so like Anthony pointed out, Miss Marvel leads into the Marvels. If you want to understand like why Kamala Khan is like meeting up with Captain Marvel and how that works, sure, you might need to watch it. But like if you don't really care about how she gets from point A to point B, all you need to know is she's a girl who has superpowers that gets roped in with this cosmic being called Captain Marvel, who you have already met, and then you just have to watch that one movie. You don't have to worry about watching that whole TV show. WandaVision, I mean, I love that show. I think you'll have a great time watching it, but like it does lead into Doctor Strange, which Doctor Strange is probably one of the quote unquote more important movies as far as the multiverse goes, I would argue. So definitely that one is, I would say, a must watch. Obviously Spider-Man No Way Home, you've seen that, so you don't have to worry about that. What else we got?
Marvels.
The Marvels.
Yeah.
You think well, yeah, you have to watch the Marvels because of literally the last.
Yeah, literally the stinger of the movie.
Honestly,
end credit stuff.
Honestly, Devante, if you wanted, you could just look up the end scene credit of the Marvels and you'd be fine.
I was about to say, it sounds like I have a lot of watching to do.
Yeah,
before I get to the sixth phase.
For some reason, they're requiring so much like heavy lifting, and this is like they're guilty of it in the Marvels Phase 3 as well. Yeah, you had to watch so much of like Phase 1 and 2 to understand Phase 3 really well to appreciate it. Appreciate all the hard work going into Phase 3.
Hey, there's a very important question in this chat that I need Devante to address.
There's two. So let's answer the first one. How is the new Fantastic Four movie supposed to integrate into the mix?
Okay, so I have looked up some things on this. Okay. So they just announced that the Silver Surfer is going to be in that movie and Galactus is going to be the main villain. So I don't know how I feel about that as the first movie, but I also heard that apparently it's going to be set in another universe, so not even the like main MCU.
Sure.
It's going to be another universe, and supposedly it's going to take place like in the 1900s. So what makes me interested about that is that I think Galactus might, well, for those who don't know, Galactus is a world eater. He literally goes through space. He's like an extremely giant person who eats worlds.
Right.
So I think Galactus is going to straight up eat their planet, and then that's going to like lead them into crossing over into another universe, maybe the MCU.
I see. You had any opinion on that, Anthony? I'm not too keen on Fantastic Four.
What? Fantastic Four is amazing. Fantastic Four.
I mean, I watched the early movies, but I haven't, or even the newest one that just came out.
From a comic book perspective, the Fantastic Four saved Marvel Comics as a whole.
That's another film that Chris Evans was in that was Marvel related.
I think Alex has a pretty good summary of like what's going to happen. I do think they have to introduce a Doctor Doom because he's such iconic to the part of Fantastic Four. I really hope they lean towards him because in the comic book for Secret Wars, Doctor Doom plays a huge role in it. He's literally like the king of the secret Battle World, which is the Secret Wars, like storyline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like,
Doctor Doom's one of the most brilliant villains that exist.
Yeah, I hope they lean towards like his thing. Like in the comic books, he's like magic user. He's not like a science guy. He's an electric power. He's a magic user.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
His powers kind of reminded me of like Magneto's in a way. What he controls.
Magneto he controls like anything. Magneto's cool. Magneto's really good. Yeah, like what's his face? So Doctor Doom, he's like a magic user. So like there's like I know in some comic book storylines, he has a connection with like Wanda, Scarlet Witch. But I imagine that Secret Wars will be a combination of like the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and then like some of the Avengers. But I think they're gonna lean towards the cosmic Avenger. I know that's like a floating theory is that they want to separate the storylines, but there's a cosmic like side of like superheroes versus like the street level superheroes.
Yeah. Anthony, with the X-Men, vastly approaching the MCU, what comic book storyline would you like to see the most? And I'm talking just X-Men, not like
House of
Wolverine
M.
or House of M.
House
Okay.
of M
Elaborate.
or the current stuff for the X-Men. Current X-Men, I think so they just finished the John Hickleman run of the X-Men. And I want like if you've never read an X-Men comic book, I think it'd be pretty fun to read like the how I think it's like a House of X or the Powers of X and the Swords of X, like that storyline. It's a really nice twist on the X-Men. It kind of modernizes their take and it's a good one. So House of M is actually a crossover with like the other Marvel like IP like superheroes.
Yeah.
And so the idea of House of M is I think it's like a Wolverine wakes up in a world. It's like Wolverine's the main character of House of M kind of ish.
Mm.
He wakes up in a world where Magneto is like Magneto, Storm, like the superheroes are like the majority of the population. And they're like the quote unquote ruling class of like the world. And so like they literally so like it's the House of Magneto. So like you have Wanda Witch sorry,
That
Wanda
kind of sounds cool.
Maximoff is like the princess, Pedro is a prince. These are like royal delegates, and so like Black
Hold
Panther
on,
is
back up 1 second,
form.
just so Devante knows. In the comics, Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch, she's actually Magneto's daughter, like straight up.
Wait, who is?
Scarlet Witch.
They
Oh,
they they've
Yeah,
changed this so many times, but like
they
I
have
think
changed it.
canonically, I think for this storyline, yes. Imagine that they are siblings.
hmm.
Um, and so Wolverine wakes up in this world that is like people are like the superheroes are predominant forces, and then it's like he explores the world and they try to figure out what changed because this is the reality, but Wolverine still remembers the old reality, and so he's trying to lead like people to figure out the truth, and it's like a whole arc where he runs into I think Spider Man is like married to Gwen Stacy. Cyclops is with Emma Frost, and they're trying to figure out what caused the event. And I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but I
I
probably
think I
could spoil
remember
it.
who did do it. If I remember correctly, isn't it our girl?
So she's the one who caused the event, but she's up. So everyone thought like Magneto told Scarlet Witch to create this universe where mutants are the predominant species, like Homo sapiens superiors, are the
Of
Yeah.
dominant.
course.
But it
Very
wasn't
Magneto.
Magneto. It was Quicksilver because he saw how much pain the humans have caused his sister,
Mm.
and he convinces her to change the world such that the mutants are the predominant race, and it
Didn't
ends
it
with
didn't it have somewhat a the influence was also kind of like the whole kids thing,
massive.
right?
Yeah, it's massive. So so the story ends with a big fight where the heroes now know the truth and they're trying to fight against Magneto and his people and all that stuff. They're trying to fight for like to right the world. And I think it was like Hawkeye. Hawkeye remembers that he was killed in the original story, the original universe. He was killed by Scarlet Witch, so he goes to confront her. And it's like a whole drama of like she has her kids and she's like, oh, she's sad because like in the comic book she killed Vision, so now she has Vision in this universe. She has kids in this universe, and she doesn't want to go back. But then gets convinced that it's the right thing to do.
Mm.
But then she whispers, "No more mutants,"
Hmm.
and that it changes the entire like Marvel comic book universe, where it basically reduces the mutant population to like few hundred mutants, over
Mm.
the other than like a few like 50,000 mutants.
Oh wow.
She like so
So
like
they're like
that
rare.
huge ramifications on the X-Men storylines afterwards.
Mm.
It's you can see a lot where a lot of like the Doctor Strange movie, the Doctor Strange 2 came where it pulls the ideas from. So as a comic book reader, it's really cool to see where these movies are grabbing their ideas from. Like, oh, it's really cool to see like the kids, trying to get kids, bring back Vision and all that stuff. So I think House of M is cool. They probably won't do that because it's too massive and they already done that storyline.
Mm.
Yeah. They did kind of cover that with WandaVision.
Yeah. I think Josh Whedon's run of the Astonishing X-Men is a good one to follow. That's just a
You know,
solid reunion kind of story where
you know what I
Endgame.
would like to see is I want to see the Mr. Sinister storyline play out
The
Mm.
current one?
where he kidnaps Jean Grey and no one knows about it. Like it would be so cool. Imagine that kind of twist in the MCU, you know, like they have an X-Men movie, they fight
Have you
Mr.
seen
Sinister.
X-Men 97 yet?
I have been watching it and I know that they're
That's
doing that
yeah,
storyline right now. That's
you
why
can't
I'm
do that
thinking that's why
again.
I've got that in my head. It's nice and fresh.
Right.
And
You gotta
it's
do the new Mr. Sinister storyline where he basically
what's the new
creates
one?
so in the current run of the X-Men universe, the mutants have created a formula for immortality. Like you can literally die, come back to life, and they do it through a series of mutant powers. And so the
Okay.
idea is that there's like 5 characters who have the secret to immortal life, where Xavier will create a copy of your brain, store it away in his massive database,
Okay.
and these other 5 mutants will work together to create a pure clone of your body, and
Oh
they
wow.
will basically input the memories from Professor Xavier into this new body, and so you
Hmm.
basically achieved immortality.
Hmm.
So that's
S-
one of the running themes of
So
the
it's
X-Men
still the
storyline.
same person?
Yes, well, I mean, like,
It's
now you're
them,
diving
but
into,
not
like,
them.
you're
Hmm.
diving into, like, are you the same
It
person, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
it actually sounds a lot like what happened to Jean. So I'm gonna actually go back to what I was talking about a second ago. That Mr. Sinister storyline. Mr. Sinister kidnaps Jean Grey and he makes a clone, right? And the clone doesn't realize she's a clone because why would she? She has all the memories and she thinks she's Jean. So it's like that, Devante. Like imagine you have a clone
Hmm.
of yourself.
Right.
Your clone thinks that you are Devante. He thinks like has no idea. But
Hmm.
then one day, all of a sudden, you, the real Devante, the original, you walk through the door and you see yourself walk through that door and you're like, who is this person? And then all your friends are confused. They start distrusting you. And now they run tests on you both and they discover like your genes like are older. Like they're actually 20 something years old versus the other one is like, oh, this is only like a couple years old. And you realize, oh my gosh, we've been living with a clone for the past 2 years. The real person has been kidnapped this whole time. And you are now looking at your clone having a child with who would have been your wife. And just, yeah, it's a whole
Dang, that's
mess.
interesting.
It's such an interesting storyline. But sorry, Anthony, I didn't mean to.
Take that idea and now let's upscale it to
Yeah.
what if he creates multiple clones?
Yeah.
And what if he's using those clones as like a couple to like take over like leadership? Like that's like the current like Mr. Sinister storylines. Like he's actually like the idea is like they're really leaning towards like Dr. Mr. Sinister's cloning mutants.
Hmm.
And so one of the storylines is like who's a clone of Mr. Sinister? Like
Yeah.
that's like their entire story arc to figure out who's actually a clone. And it's really cool to see how they reveal it through like, cliffhangers and the comic book
Wait,
story. The clone is.
that's only in the comics right now, or is that like a show? Or
It's a
So
comic, I
this
think.
is an actual it happened in the comic books and they adapted it for X-Men 97.
okay,
Which one? The one where they clone Mr. Sinister or just the Jean Grey one?
The Jean Grey one is inspired by an actual comic book storyline. And then so they brought it to TV with X-Men 97.
Right.
Uh, I think the current X-Men stuff is a little too wild for our first X-Men film. I think you're gonna have a more toned down story. It's probably gonna be very similar to Astonishing X-Men run from Josh Whedon, where it's just like the X-Men reunite after being away after Professor X dies. They come back and like you have Cyclops leading the school, you have Emma Frost leading the school, and just more of a traditional like X-Men stuff. So I don't think it's gonna be anything too big, but it's very fun to see it.
so I gotta
I,
ask, so we can start wrapping up. I want to hear from the professionals, you two. What do you think the future of the MCU would be like then? Seeing that we've seen phase 1 through 3, we're in 4 right now, and then 5 is coming
five.
up.
We're in
Okay,
five
we're in
right now.
5, and then 6 is coming up. So, um, as we talked, phase 1 through 3 we really enjoyed, and then Phase 4 and 5 we're kind of iffy on, it sounds like, but where do you guys foresee MCU going in the future?
I'll let you go first, Anthony.
So I think we're gonna start seeing a bit less story, less movies for sure. You're gonna start seeing more like cohesive like storyline put together.
Okay.
That's what it is. But I think you're gonna have it's gonna go back to the same formula as like the first couple of Marvel films, where like you have like different genres. I think it's gonna be a bit tighter in terms of what they're doing. I think you'll see less crazy ideas, less like what's a sitcom with Marvel heroes, it's like a rom com with Marvel heroes.
Okay. So do you see like something as big as Endgame in the like in the foreseeable future, or do you think it'll ever get that big again?
Yeah, because I think what they're building towards with like the multiverse stuff, I feel like you kind of do have to end it with like a Secret Wars style.
What about
Yeah,
you, Alex?
I personally, so I agree with everything Anthony said. I think that's the direction it's headed, is towards a Secret Wars film. And obviously, Marvel Studios isn't going to want to stop there because they're Marvel. They want to continue to make money and they want to make these characters last as long as they can. So my big hope is for the future of the MCU to lean into a new generation of X-Men that succeeds. Not like the not like what the Fox studios try to do for the revival, where they tried to get those new characters and put them in the spotlight and it just didn't really work. Like I would love to see kind of like the early 2000s X-Men, like a new fresh fun cast. I'd love to see like a real charismatic Cyclops who really embraces the role of leadership and just kind of like what X-Men 97 is doing, honestly. Like they, as soon as that first episode came out, I remembered why I loved Cyclops so much as a kid. Like when I watched him in the Fox movies, he's kind of almost like a side character, or just a minor role in a way. Like he's there, he blasts a couple guys. That's it. He's Jean Grey's boy toy. Like I mean, the dude doesn't do much. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, but when you watch him in 97, you're like, man, this dude commands the room. He enters and he lays down the law. He tells people what he wants to accomplish. He listens to his wife. Like he's a good man. Just like I love this guy. And I'm just like, dang, I hope they really do a good Cyclops in the near future. Probably that'll probably be honestly when we have kids though that are old enough to watch this stuff. Like I'm thinking way down the line, but I mean that's what I hope to see is a really fun X-Men movie series, to see something like along those lines.
Nice. Well,
But what do you want to see in a Marvel film?
yeah,
As
for
someone who's just
me,
like a pure consumer.
yeah, I'm just a pure consumer, so it looks like I have some watching to do. So I'll go back and watch some of those shows since um it will be important for phase 6, it seems. And so I'm looking forward to another like in-game build up. If they do one like that. I personally enjoyed both movies. And so if they can do that for this upcoming phase, then so be it. I'll go watch all the movies and enjoy them. But I'm really hoping that they can have something as big as they had before.
But that wraps up our topic for this evening. I just want to give a shout out to everyone who's listening. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much if you've returned from our first stream. Greatly appreciate it. We will stream weekly. We will upload these to YouTube so you can rewatch later. I would really appreciate it if you like, comment, subscribe. Just give our videos a chance to get a wider audience. I just want to give a shout out to Leviction for his awesome music.
Thank you guys for everyone that was interacting with us, commenting. We appreciate all the questions, all the comments, all the funny remarks. Please continue to interact. We're always happy to see some funny guys pop up and enjoy the time with us. So thank you for making this as fun for us as it is for you guys.
For sure. Thank everybody for joining. And as always, thanks for the chat. You guys always make it fun. See you next week.
Stay inspired, everyone.